I'm Mark Stewart, and I want to take 2 minutes just to describe how bad forced socialism is. A later video will tell you where it gets us, but for now, the niceties of forced socialism, which I equate with big government. It takes big government to force people, ultimately at gunpoint, to do their bidding. Things that seem nice, so they seem benign, are not nice to certain groups of people. It is not moral, it is not economically good, and in most cases it's not constitutional to be doing what government has taken itself for the last 120 years to do. Nice thing, minimum wage. It's not nice to people who are going to get fired because they can't require, their skills aren't good enough to be at a high wage. Their skills are good enough to be at a medium wage, and happily, employer and employee get together and have a mutually agreeable contract. Government shouldn't be getting in the way of that, because as soon as you force a wage that the employer can't pay for that kind of labor, this kid's out. This kid now has fewer prospects, no income, and a minimum wage job almost all kids crave so that they are on the ladder to get to higher wages later. Loan forgiveness sounds nice, but loan forgiveness to usually well-off college students and their upper class or at least upper middle class families, it's perverse. Because one, what are you giving to the kids who didn't go to college? They were actually pretty frugal and wise and said, look, I'm doing community college, I'm going to pay my way. Or I'm going to go right into the workforce and I'm not expecting anything from government. Even more galling is that students who up until now have diligently paid back their loans. And these dumb proposals to say, oh, we'll just wipe them off because, well, there's no good cause except that people in power get more loyal people to vote for them. How about needy immigrants? Another group that 10 years down the road, they expect to vote for them, and they might be needy people. But equally needy and more deserving are people in the United States, born here, who are deprived of opportunities. And maybe the most incendiary, but it's been accepted for so darn long. Public education. Like, how could you be against that? You could be against that because you could recognize how education worked before forced public education. People paid, and they got better education for it. A lot of times it was religious-based, but it didn't have to be, nor does it have to be now. And for this amount, 3 kids at $22,000 per student per year, $66,000 could be in your bank account to educate your kids the way you want. It's a terrible transfer because right now it's people that don't have kids that are paying for public education. So that's not right either, because they're kind of skinflint about excessive education. It might actually be very good for the kids, but since they don't have kids or grandkids in the school, they don't want to vote for it. Letting people pay for what they use is capitalism. It's a very good principle. And when government gets in the way, especially government that has politicians and bureaucrats who benefit by getting in the way, we lose out. Please recall where all government proposals are finalized. They might have started with well-meaning citizens. They might have started with elected representatives, usually not. They end up being codified by not so well-meaning bureaucrats, representatives with a political bias, who are no wiser than you. They occasionally have more knowledge, but their job should be to educate the voters on it. So, with ultimately no more knowledge and less wisdom, why bother with a government proposal when organic businesses, organic individual groups can satisfy every single person's need without sacrificing somebody else. The proposals that you heard from me on government are all trade-offs, from some to others, and not with our consent. I am Mark Stewart, the pro-consent on everything speaker. Love to speak in front of your group. Set it up if that's possible. For now, StewartForLiberty.com.